The
Right.
Eitz is wood. Eitz is a piece of wood, so it's a stick.
No tree?
It's a tree, right? Tree. Where do we get wood? Where do we get sticks from? From trees. So sticks of life, atzei chaim, or trees of life. This is not a full tree; it's just a stick. But, anyways, what do? We on this we roll the scroll, right? The scroll is rolled up here and rolled up there, and goes around and around and around and around. And you've seen them before. There's a custom that when you put this is the Ashkenazi, of course. This is the Ashkenazi Sefer Torah. When you put them together, when you put it away, you take the one on the right and you put it above the one on the left. The right one above the one on the left. They can't be touching each other. You need to close it more. So there's an overlap. I'll draw the picture here so you can see it better.
That means when we roll that, when we sit, and the one who's helping the other from the other side, we need to be aware of it, or the one who's sitting.
Both of you are together going to make sure that the Sefer Torah is closed up with the right. Well, listen, the fellow who's holding the Sefer Torah, he's busy holding. Make sure it doesn't fall. The other fellow, it's called the person who raises the Sefer Torah and holds it, it's called Hagbaha, which means to raise. Hagba, many people just pronounce it that way, Hagba, which means you get the honor to lift the Torah. And then the second fellow, his responsibility is to roll it up. It's called Gilila, which means to roll. So you get Hagba and you get Galila. Hagba means you lift it up, and the guy who does Galila, he wraps it up. So the one in charge of wrapping has to make sure when the Sefer Torah gets closed that the right is above the left. You see this, the right over here on top of the left.
Right from the side of the one who is sitting.
Well, above and below doesn't matter. The one that's above should from the inside. Yeah. From the one who's sitting, he usually has the inside towards him. Correct. So that's just a custom.
Okay.
It's just a custom. If you did it the other way, no terrible thing. But
you stay there, then
people in the community, in the crowd, they don't know much halacha, and they're be happy just to tell other people what to do. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Oh. It's like the worst thing in the world to have the left above the right. It's not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world is to embarrass someone.
True.
Embarrass someone.
Embarrass.
And if the fellow doesn't know any better, he puts the left above the right. Okay. Tell him afterwards. You can fix it quietly. But, people sometimes are not so sensitive, and they want to be righteous.
Look me, I'm the Chacham.
They want to be, they mean well. They want it to be the honor of the Sefer Torah, but sometimes it can be a little bit rude. You shouldn't ever be rude. And quietly, the Chazan, the Rabbi, the Gabbai is the person in charge of the activities, he can tell him, open it up, put the right side on top, that's our custom. Without getting angry, without yelling, without causing a scene. It's the custom that the right always goes on top of the left. But it's a custom, it's not a violation of anything. What else?
Also in the Western world, there is the place you can roll the tehillim, and there is the kind of you close that with a little kind of cover.
Glass?
No, that is under glass. You can
under glass.
It, you can roll it. Now they
established
a new one, but they have this cover over it. That's because we don't shoot to let that be open, that the letters are visible, or is there any?
It's just a sign of respect. Sign of respect. If you're reading the book, then you have it open. If you're not reading it, it should be closed. Mm-hmm. Of course. In a book, you open and close it. In a scroll, you can either roll it shut to close it, or if you want to keep it open, like They have it fixed in a cabinet, open, so there's no way to close it. So instead of closing it, we cover it. We put a cover on it. So, right. In some synagogues, in the middle of the when you're reading the Torah on Shabbat, it takes a while. How long does it take to read the Torah on Shabbat? About half an hour. About half an hour, maybe a little less. No, just the Torah reading. Just the Torah reading. Not more than half an hour. Not more than half an hour. And how many divisions, how many people get aliyot? 7 on Shabbat. And how many on...
8.
Well, there's an extra one. And how, during the week is 3. And how many on Rosh Chodesh? 4. And how many on Yom Tov? 5. And how many on Yom Kippur? 6. Good. 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I could, but you're writing it down in your notebook. Why should I write it on the board?
I'm stuck on Shas.
Me too. I haven't finished the Shas yet. I finished Shas Mishnayot, but not the Shas.
What's the difference between Ashkenazi and Sephardic? Where
how's the difference?
Before you start the reading, before they start reading the Torah, and you're up, you have to kiss, like he's looking for the place where to start,
Right?
and then you kiss either, I think this is Anif or Tzit,
Right?
or they have a little, Sephardim have like a little cloth.
A little cloth, right?
Ashkenazi don't have that.
Right.
What cloth?
Right. So some do. Some Ashkenazim do have a cloth there that covers the Torah. And that's what I was trying to describe after Amos's question. He said sometimes you have the Sefer Torah is open and remains open for half an hour. That's a sign. You're not always reading it. You're calling somebody, you're giving him a blessing called Misha Berach. You might have heard the blessings. It takes a long time. And so in between the aliyot, there's a special covering which is used to cover the Sefer Torah just as a sign of respect. Some people use it's called the mantle in Yiddish. Yeah, it's like a clothing. It's the clothing of the Sefer Torah. Yeah. Some people just use the one and they, close up the Torah in between each one of the 7, and then they cover it with the mantle, with the cloth. Some people have a special cloth that's used for these times in between the 7 aliyah. It's not the one that normally the Sefer Torah is stored in, but it's just for that period when the Sefer Torah is. And so that's similar. Then Sephardi Sifrei Torah, it has a big box, a big wooden or silver box. It's very heavy. To open it and close it, it's difficult. And so instead of opening and closing it, they have usually some kind of kerchief or scarf, which is colorful sometimes, just to make it pretty.
But you use it also to kiss the letters.
Right. So
you don't have to. You can just use it.
That's right. You can use either one, right? And in between, when you're not reading the Sefer Torah, the letters are covered by the scarf, and so it's more a sign of respect. That's all. And when you want to read it, or you close it, right? You either close it or you cover it with a scarf. Just a sign of respect.
What's the person's what's the title for the person who reads the Torah?
Baal Koreh. Likro is to read. Baal Koreh is the master of reading.
Right. Okay.
The master of reading. The old custom was there was no appointed reader. Everybody who came up to his aliyah read that section. It's still like that in Yemenite communities. Everybody has to know the whole Torah, almost off by heart.
And they read from every angle.
That's a historical thing. But anyways, most communities now there's a appointed Baal Koreh. Everybody that comes up just says the bracha, and then the reader reads, and then you say the bracha afterwards. And that's it.
My question is about bracha. Should be anyway. touch when we will be in that position. I am not there yet.
Soon.
You can soon. You should. Some people hold it. Some people. We have two scrolls. We have the big one.
Right.
We have this one. They choose whatever they choose.
So
but then someone are touching it, or someone are touching the edge of Chaim.
Mm-hmm.
How that's the custom, or it's something we should to do?
It's a custom you should do. The halacha says that when you have an apple, you're going to say a bracha on it. You should hold the item in your right hand, as we described. Make the bracha, and then you eat. And you're going to make a bracha on the tzitzit. Hold the tzitzit in both hands, or your right hand, and then make the bracha, and then you do the mitzvah. Same thing with the Sefer Torah. You're making a bracha on reading from the Torah. You should be holding the Sefer Torah. So in an Ashkenazi scroll, you have two hands. So you hold on to the two atzei chaim, the two life sticks, life trees. And then, but then there's a reader. If you're holding, he can't see.
Yeah.
So you let go of the left one, and you put your two hands on the right one, which is close to you, right? Because usually the reader stands on the left, and you're over here near the right one, right? If it's open, right? So you put two hands on it, and the reader is standing over here, and he's reading. You have to look in and follow along. It's best even to say the words yourself quietly as you're being guided by the reader, and then when he's finished reading, you can close them. You put your hand on the left one again. You can take your two hands off the right one, put the left hand on that, close it up, say the final bracha. And as Sephardi Sefer Torah, same idea. You should hold on to the Torah when you make a blessing about that mitzvah. It's always good to hold the object of mitzvah in your hand, in your right hand, ideally. As a matter of fact, in Havdalah, for example, we have a blessing on the cup of wine. You hold it in your right hand. And then what's the next blessing?
Besamim.
Besamim. So, but your right hand is full of the cup of wine. So what do? Move your cup of wine to your left hand. And then you pick up the besamim with your right hand. And you make the bracha on the besamim. But then what's next? My hands are full. So I put down the besamim, pick up the candle, make the bracha on the candle, put down the candle, and then there's another bracha, right? The bracha of Hamavdil. So I take the wine from my left hand back to my right hand, and I say the bracha, the final bracha of Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, with the wine in my right hand. Lots of fancy hand movements.
You pick up the ash in the hand?
That's ideal. It's not obligatory. It's kosher even if you can't hold the wine at all. The wine is on the table. And then the drink, I guess you have to pick it up.
In my house,
Somebody has
used to be
to.
like my brother.
That's
Everyone is going like this with the ash and look at the nail and
right. I'll explain that too. Right. There's many different customs. Some go like this, some go like this. The idea is that you should have some benefit from the candle. You're making a bracha on the candle. The light. Hashem created the light. Our tradition tells us that on Motzei Shabbat, that's when the first man, Adam Arishon, received as a gift fire. In any case, we make a bracha on the fire. We appreciate, of course, all of Shabbat. We're not allowed to light a candle, not allowed to light a fire. Say Shabbat, our sages instituted to make a bracha once a week on fire. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam borei me'arei ha'esh. Custom is you should really, you're thanking Hashem for the existence of fire in the world. We only make it if you have a fire next to you. You don't have, ideally, you want to even, there's two types of brachot. Some brachot are brachot on something that you benefit from, that you enjoy. So how do you enjoy fire? So you can look at it, or you can enjoy the The benefit of fire. What benefit do you get in fire?
Work.
That you can work. Okay, we're not going to start working right now, but
warming, like
warming. So warming is one element. And what else does fire give us? Cooking is another element. Building is another element. What else is?
Energy.
Light. What does light help you do?
See.
Helps you see. What does see mean?
Seeing means to observe and be aware of your environment.
Right. And it's true, absolutely. But the way the particular benefit of seeing is when you can make a distinction.
Yes.
What's a distinction in Chinese? You know? Right, you can see. So you want to see the difference between a tree and a person. You can see the difference between the blue color and the white color, right? What distinction do we use? The distinction between the fingernail and the flesh underneath the fingernail. They look very similar, but a little different, right? This is a little bit more white.